The place to be is living free in Tennessee. Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Monday, December 4th, 2023. This is episode, what is it? 823 of Living Free in Tennessee, and we will be joined by my cats today. And it is a Monday show. So, Monday show, we have our usual segments today, as well as a discussion about a topic that I've been thinking about. And it's really it's getting strength from your home base, or as I put in the title, ignoring your home to your own peril. This is something I've said a couple times in passing in former episodes about success and building success, that if your house isn't in order, it's a lot harder to be successful. And I've been feeling that very acutely for the last 6 weeks or so, as we repair some pretty big issues with my home. And we're in the final stretch now, but as you can see if you're on the video, I've been wearing a respirator a lot because, Darth Vader and all that. Now we're sanding. So we did the self leveler yesterday, and before we got good at mixing it, the first couple buckets had some little chunks in it, and we've been grinding those down all day. So they're all ground, but it was a very dusty affair. And I walked in and saw Tactical grinding those this morning, and he was not wearing a respirator. So I was like, "Get your respirator, dude," and he did. So I don't need him dying of cancer because he breathed a bunch of this crap in. I'm in the back of the house with the doors closed. I've actually just been staying in the camper because it's easier, and I haven't even let the dogs back in the house because I don't want their little nails like marring the foundation of the floor. So we're close. We're very close. I'll be moving back in, I'm pretty sure, this weekend. So I'm super excited about that. But with all the chaos, of course, I got to thinking about how important it is to have a home that works for you if you're going to be successful. And when you find yourself in a situation where your home doesn't work for you at all, it can really get in the way. Hello, Beth and Pack Rat. Welcome. Um, yeah, Tactical is much better after his chiropractic appointment. He's been to 2. I moved 2,640 pounds of product on Sunday, so my back is a little sore. But I hope to get to the pool this week one day too, because like when I swim laps, it's like everything aligns. So there we go. Okay, before we jump into our first segment today, I want to talk about our featured event of today's show. And it is coming up this Sunday at 3 p.m. Central. It can be viewed virtually, but you can come in person as well if you are anywhere near the Cookeville, Tennessee area. And it is a Christmas concert. What better way to get in the mood for Christmas than come and listen to Christmas carols as well as Vivaldi's Gloria? That will be performed by Master Singers of Cookeville. This is my choir, but with all of the things going on in my personal life this fall, I decided it was a hard decision. I decided not to sing with the choir for the Christmas concert, even though I totally know Vivaldi's Gloria. I totally know the carols they're doing. The thing is, it can be pretty detrimental to a choir to have some rando just pop in who wasn't at rehearsal. Like, you get kind of used to singing near people. And so I didn't think it would be fair for me to come in after Thanksgiving, rehearse twice, and then do the concert. So I'm going to go to the concert for the first time as an attendee, which is going to be super fun. A couple of holler neighbors are coming with me. If you want to go, it's December 10th, not 9th, at 3 p.m. I guess the 9th is Saturday. I don't know. I was thinking about the 9th for some other reason. Anyway, December 10th, 3 p.m. at the Wattenbarger Auditorium at Tennessee Tech University. You can get tickets at mastersingersinc.com. Okay, I also want to thank our 2 sponsors of today's show. And the first sponsor is, of course, our friend Agorist Tax Advice. That's right, Matthew Sursley from Agorist Tax Advice. I knew Matthew before he was Agorist Tax Advice, when he was just sort of thinking about doing something, and then all of a sudden he came up with this cool idea. He's like, I know, I'm an agorist and I can give tax advice because I'm an attorney in Texas, and I've done a lot of analytical stuff related to, learning about the law here and federally. He runs rentals. He has a vast knowledge of different tax codes. Not all of them, I'm sure, but of different tax codes. And he can help you analyze your finances, figure out the best structure for you, help you choose what to do, understand how to properly track your tax write-offs so your risk is lower. If you get audited, at least you can say, this is the expense I took, this is why I took it, this is how I documented it, that sort of things. And he's helped a lot of people in our network. He used to give a free consult. What he's doing now is having you go to agoristaxadvice.com/LFTN, sign up for his email list. If you sign up for his email list, what you're going to get is a weekly email that's super helpful. It'll highlight one part of the tax code you may or may not have known existed. Makes it very understandable. I love it. He talked about health savings accounts, I believe it was a week or two ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember the days when I qualified for one of those. That was awesome. I loved having a health savings account. So really cool email. He includes a free download as soon as you sign up that gives you just an overview of different things you can write off. It's a little report. And then you get into his weekly mail and you can decide, hey, do I want to maybe reach out and see if he can help me? The other cool thing about Matthew is he doesn't work with people that he doesn't think he can help. So that's kind of awesome. So you don't like waste a bunch of money if he's like, actually, you're not quite to the point in your business yet where you should be paying somebody like me to analyze your finances. So come back in a year. He's that kind of guy. I love that. So check him out, agoristaxadvice.com. Our second sponsor of today's show is Holler Roast Coffee. That's right. If you want freshly roasted, premium, handcrafted coffee by Nicole Sauce, you can get it at hollerroast.com. We've got a couple of fun things going for the Christmas season. Of course, you can get our our favorite blend, which is the house blend. You can order it straight from the website. That's hollerroast.com. If you scroll down to their featured coffees, it's there. Coffee of the month makes a great gift. You can do 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months in advance. That's also on the homepage. And we have sampler packs, which are 3 6-ounce bags of different coffees. It will include Holler Roast Dark, and then I add other varietals, other roast levels. Holler Roast Dark is our most famous, our favoriteest, most ordered coffee, so I usually include that in any sampler pack. If you want to bump it up, you can have the Spirit Cooled sample pack. I believe that's like another $10, and then you'll have Spirit Cooled coffees. All of that's available at hollerroast.com. Or if you know that you want volume, like I just put together 20 sampler packs as the gift that somebody's giving in our network who didn't want to put 20 orders in on the website. And what they did was they decided to send them to all of their friends, and I saved them the hassle of doing individual orders 20 times by just sending me a spreadsheet with the address information. And they said what they wanted written on the cards. And I wrote the cards, packaged them up, sent them out the door. And it was like a super easy way to do Christmas. So we are still able to handle custom orders like that right now. The time frame on that will shrink when we get closer to like, I can't get them produced and mailed. But right now you can still get your Christmas gift orders in. Okay, with that, it's time for our first segment of today's show, and that's talking about the live stream schedule this week. We will be live tomorrow at 9:30 with Jack Spirko from the Survival Podcast and John Willis. That'll be on this YouTube channel if you're on the live stream. If not, go to the show notes and you'll find a link there, or just look for LFTN on YouTube. That's where we are. We also stream to Facebook and to Odyssey. I really needed some water. Okay, we are not doing a Wednesday show this week. That's because I'm working on my floor, and I just decided that I need a whole day to work on my floor. It doesn't mean I won't do other work that day, but I don't need to worry about, I started the floor, I have a show, I have to stop the floor. You see what I'm saying? So I just decided no Wednesday interview show, but there will be an audio podcast on Wednesday for the audio podcast listeners. It's previously recorded. Then Friday, we have the 9:30 Homestead Happenings live as usual. So that's the live stream schedule for the week. Reminder to the guys in the live stream, if you want me to see your questions, just put a word in all caps so I can see it. And I see that Rachel and Hogs14 has joined the live stream. Welcome to the show. Next segment is Tales from the Prepper Pantry. This is where we talk about using what you store and storing what you use. And right now I'm in a use it up phase, although we are adding 2 cows to the freezer this week. One of them's not mine. One of them, half of it's mine and half is another friend's. And then we bought a second cow this year. So we actually have bought 2 whole cows this year for the next 12 months. Now, that may seem like a lot for 2 people, but we feed more than 2 people a lot. Although I'll have to say, since the house got ripped up, we've not been feeding many people at all, including ourselves very well. But I made a 10-pound meatloaf. So I went into this weekend thinking, like, we're doing the self-leveling agent and it's going to be disruptive. And this is when I'm just going to eat a bunch of crap and blah, 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 and pizza and whatever, Chinese food and Mexican food. And I'm not going to lie, I've had a cauliflower crust pizza in the last week and I have had Mexican takeout in the last week. The cauliflower crust pizza happened because I took a bag of some leftover food that had been packaged at the workshop and not labeled, that I'm sure that Leo's handed it to me and said, this is what this is, but it just didn't get written on it for some reason. And so I put it in the crock pot because it looked like pulled pork, and it was pulled pork fat. And there wasn't any meat in the bag. And I put that in the crock pot to heat it up, went to serve it at dinner. And I was like, as much as I like to do like fat, like I do eat fat, I don't eat straight fat. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I could make myself do it, but I was like, we are not eating pork fat for dinner. Like that would just be weird. So I had 2 cauliflower crust pizzas in the freezer and just ended up making those for dinner. And then the other time I was just too exhausted to even think about cooking. And actually I did cook. I cooked 2 steaks and handed them to Tactical and he ate those. And then we got Mexican food. And that was the day we moved all the stuff out. Yeah, Rachel says, remember, Nicole, do less, save your sanity. This shows a little bit about saving your sanity, as a matter of fact. So I thought, well, I might eat a lot of just garbage if I'm not prepared going into the busy weekend. And I'm doing, like a lot of labor on my project's been done by Tactical, but I'm actually going to be putting time in on it this weekend. Like I've put this weekend aside so we can get the self-leveling floor in, and hopefully I can get at least the first coating of the concrete on there. And life happened on Saturday. And what we managed to do Saturday was get ready to pour the self-leveling. So like by 4 or 4:30, I was ready to pour the self-leveling. And I think if I had begged, that my 2 neighbors would have come over and we would have mixed it and poured it, and it would have taken us 2.5 hours. I now know, maybe 3 hours. And it would have really sucked. And it would have been a really bad idea to do that because we were mentally tired, physically tired. So what I had done is defrosted 5 pounds or so of ground beef, and I had 3 pounds of pork sausage, and I made a giant meatloaf that actually made 2 giant meatloaves. And I call this the 10-pound meatloaf. It's probably an 8-pound meatloaf. And we had that for dinner, and we're having that again for dinner tonight because the leftover one is totally untouched and ready to go. So that was straight out of the pantry. And then we had this awesome venison shin stew last week, which those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while know that when my mom cut up the deer when I was out of town, she labeled things however she wanted to. And one of the things I ended up with was a number of venison shins, which is fine. So I had a package of 2 or 3. I don't even know how many were in there. Venison shins, and I threw it in a crock pot. I think it ended up being a shin and maybe a shoulder roast because there was more meat than I was expecting. And yeah, that went in the crock pot. It made a delicious stew. It was something I could cook without accessing my stove, which is not in my house right now. And it turned out really well. In fact, we're having our final chapter of venison shin stew for dinner tonight. Probably not the meatloaf, although maybe some meatloaf too. And then I have like a half serving of a lamb stew I made last week too. So I call that holler stew when I start mixing stews together. So lots of stew and a salad. That's what's for dinner. And the salad did not come out of the pantry, but everything else did. Then I've been kind of waiting for the chaos to like abate a little bit so that I can assess the prepper pantry. I haven't been refilling it the way I usually do. I'm going to probably wait till after Christmas for that. But I've noticed that since we took the furnace out of there, I think some rodents are getting in from the attic to the prepper pantry. So I need to make sure that's tight, and not having stuff in there actually helps assess that so that we don't have rodents like get into the food, which would really stink. Because the best way to keep your pantry stuff pest free is to keep the space where you keep them pest free, and then also put them in containers that are pest resistant. But as I said, I just walked in there and I was like, I feel like I need to think about this a little bit more. We're getting ready to go really cold again. So tonight it'll be cold. Wednesday it will be colder. Like it'll be so cold that if I haven't finished putting the aquaponics system to bed for the winter, I'm going to crack my aquaponics system. Probably need to drain out the black water in my camper, which I still haven't figured out how to do. I know it's not that hard. I just haven't figured out how to do it. That's pretty much everything from the prepper pantry this week. We're just using up stuff. I moved my box of spices back here that got put next door just for Thanksgiving, because I was making all this Thanksgiving food, and I'm like, I just need my spices. So I have my bin of spices back, and it's still in a box and hard to find things in, but at least I have it here. So that's all good to go. And then things are just upside down. They're kind of upside down, but we're doing our best. I cooked a lot of breakfast sausage this week to keep us from eating crap. And then just made things I knew I could do quickly without a lot of thought. So I've got 2 to 3 more days of leftovers to eat, and then need to cook something new, which means today after the show, after I play around in concrete, because I'm pretty sure I get to play around in concrete right after this, which is to say start putting the skim coat on. I don't think I'll get the whole floor done tonight, but I'm going to start in the laundry room just to see how it works and how the flow goes and what my ratios are. And based on that, I'll decide how long I want to go tonight. And then, of course, once that has dried, once I've gotten the whole first coat on and it's dried, I get to do the second coat. So and once the second coat's done, then I paint the sealer on it. And once the sealer's cured, guess what? I can move back in the house. So we're looking at 3 to 4 days of work right now. The weekly shopping report, there was not one posted since the last one I read. So that'll probably come out tomorrow. That's what usually happens when that happens. And so we're not going to read it on today's show. Also, I'm out of frugality tips. So if you want to get your frugality tip in, email me, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com, or go to livingfreeintennessee.com. Click on contact, fill that out. Those emails go to me. Finally, our final segment of today's show before the main topic is Operation Independence. Anyway, Operation Independence I guess it kind of came on the scene originally when I was talking about building your life strategic plan and then 3 areas of focus. And when I first started talking about this on the podcast, I had a lot of debt. I don't have a lot of debt anymore because one of the things I put on there was Operation Independence. Like my goal, it was like the primary goal was financial health, like big picture. And in order to get there, I needed to eliminate my debt and develop more stable, ongoing, local slash controllable revenue streams, because part of why I was in debt is I was making bad decisions because somebody else was making my financial decisions on my income, which was fine, but I was overly dependent on one source of income. And it meant that I was not always living in my best interest. I was trading my time and some of my best interest for money so that I could pay for the things. And then this was causing me to have more expensive thing requirements because I was out of town a lot and not able to do stuff for myself. And I was like, okay, I need to reframe this because that's a lot of I'm letting external things control my life. And we had a lot of episodes in that time about people living your life for you rather than living the life you choose. And that was part of my reprogramming of my own mind to live the life I choose on my terms. no matter what people think, going back to doing what's in my best interest, what's in the best interest of the community around me, rather than trading that to live for somebody else or what they thought I should be doing. And part of that, as a matter of fact, sometimes can mean working for somebody at a job, but consciously knowing that you are working a job to earn money so that you can live the life you choose it's a decision you make, right? And the way I saw my future was to go my cat just walked into my living room and the door is closed, but there is there is nothing in there and it is all hard surfaces. And I just heard the most amazing cat meow echo of my life. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. See, squirrel. It's the year of the squirrel, guys. Anyway, if you're working a job to live the life you choose, then you really can have a great life. For me, what it looks like is having more streams of income for more stability and taking responsibility for my income. So, yeah. Beth says, I cut off the pre lights on my $50 Christmas tree I bought 10 years ago. Frugality tip. Tell me more about why. Oh, maybe you went from I don't know. Are you reusing the tree and you put new lights on the tree or you just don't want lights on the tree? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know about that. Uh, anyway, 90% of my focus right now, aside from putting together the house, is hollow roast because it's Christmas coffee season. And so the most important part of hollow roasts like sales year is between now and December 20th approximately. So that's one of the revenue streams I built when I made that decision. Because when I first started this podcast, although hollow roast coffee existed, like I sold the occasional pound of coffee here and there, I wasn't running it as like the full-time thing that it is now. But I decided I needed more revenue and I started putting my heart and soul into hollow roast coffee. And it really has turned into an interesting cycle where most of the year, like 40% of my income in the business comes between uh, Thanksgiving and Christmas because a lot of people give hollow roast as gifts. And so at this time of year, I'm like all in on hollow roast coffee, and that is no different this year than any other year. So that's a big part of Operation Independence for me this year. And Beth Emily says, I put new lights on the tree. Yeah, okay. So sometimes you buy a Christmas tree that comes with lights, and then the lights go bad, and then you get a new tree. But you can cut off your lights and put new lights on. Absolutely true. Also, if your tree is dusty, a leaf blower does a lot for that. Just something I've learned from having white colored Christmas trees. In fact, I have a dusty white one right over there across the room because the door to the back of the house was open when the floor was being ground today. So there's a lot of dust back here right now. Okay. The second thing is that I just want to say what the podcast schedule looks like because the other part of my independence is this podcast, right? Operation Independence is living free in Tennessee. Like this is all part of the master plan, my evil master plan. December 19th will be our last show for 2023. I always take the week between Christmas and New Year off. Last year, I decided to start an easy bathroom remodel during that week, thinking I'd get it done. And here we are, much more deep than we thought we would ever go in the house, putting it back together. But this year of breakthrough has been pretty exhausting. And I decided since Christmas kind of falls in a funny place weekend wise, that Tuesday the 19th will be the last show. We will do, of course, our end of year season of Night Before Christmases. We have a whole bunch of different versions of the poem The Night Before Christmas that are read by different community members. We've got a redneck version, we've got an Australian version, we have a Scottish version, we have a musical version. There is a version of me just reading the darn poem. I'm actually in the middle of kind of toying with writing a Living Free in Tennessee slash holler version. So I've written about 4 verses of that. We'll see if that gets together in time. And we'll play one every day leading up to Christmas, because one of my favorite memories as a kid is the excitement of the Christmas stuff coming out every year and the decorations. And in the decorations was a little book that was the night before Christmas picture book. And we would read that, and I just loved the poem. And so when I discovered that there are a lot of different versions of the night before Christmas poem, I thought, well, let's start reading them. Enjoy let's enjoy this time of year. Let's tap into the happy memories, because holidays can be hard for people. It can be hard when people feel pressure to buy gifts that they really shouldn't be buying because the budget's tight. They can feel pressure because some people require them to get gifts and they don't really want to get the person the gift. Like there's like all sorts of weird relationship stuff comes up. Some people have had traumas over Christmas and the holiday season. And I just decided, yes, I lost my grandma over this season in I think it was 18, and that was sad, but I can still enjoy Christmas. And one of the ways I do is that poem. So I'll share that with you going into the season. I just won't be, they'll be pre-recorded, right? They'll be pre-recorded. K-Bonk says, tip, cheap box from the furnace filter helps collect airborne dust during construction. Yep. Yep. Also, if you close the door to the back of the house, then it doesn't come to the back of the house, but I don't think he realized I had left it open. So it was actually my fault, because I walked into the house and opened the door to this part of the house and then walked back out of the house because holding my breath because I didn't have my respirator on, and I left the door open. So now my respirator is just with me wherever I go. Enough said. Anyway, that's what's up for the podcast schedule, which means we have another couple interviews. We have a few more shows, and we're out. If you want to get a question in to me before the end of the year, better get it in soon. Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com. Anyway, it's time for the main topic of today's show, and that is ignore your home at your own peril, or strength in developing a solid home base. Usually when I talk about this, which is really like making your homework for you, I am explaining how to transform your home from something that costs you money into something that brings you money, or at least pays for itself. And a cornerstone of homesteading is finding ways to create value from your home no matter what. No matter if you're living on 20 acres with a flock of sheep, or if you live on a small urban lot or in an apartment, there are always ways you can find ways to bring value from your home. Even if you just have a small little flock of quail in a little cage and you're selling quail eggs, like that's bringing a little bit of value. And, replacing your need to get eggs, it's a little bit of value. But today I was thinking about this from a totally different perspective. And I was thinking about it this way. A few weeks ago, I just said in passing that the small choices you make every day have a much bigger impact on your life than the ones that you spend weeks agonizing over, like which job to take, which house to buy, which roaster to buy. Like all of that seems like a big deal at the time, but the tiny decisions you make every day have a much bigger and much more lasting impact on your life. And I was thinking about it again because the house is in chaos right now. And I was on a live stream with John Willis, and he's like, "Are you going to buy that roaster?" And the thing is, I have an opportunity to buy a roaster at a pretty good deal, pretty good price, that will roast 20 pounds at a time, which is a lot. It's not he said 5 times your coffee. It's actually twice the coffee I'm roasting now. So it's a doubling again of how much I can produce. And it's the same technology, same roasting company I got my last roaster from. It's made out of parts that are easy to replace, and I pretty much understand how the roaster's made, which is super helpful. And the answer is I haven't bought it yet, nor have I decided I'm going to buy it, although I probably am. And it's stupid that I haven't made that decision yet. because really the most important decision I can make every day is to spend an hour a day figuring out other ways to communicate to people what Holler Roast has to offer for holiday gifts. If I do that every day, 1 hour, just 60 minutes, then I have a much bigger impact on the business than whether or not I buy this roaster that's, a good deal right now. But the decision I focus on is, do I buy that roaster? Right? Rather than, am I spending an hour every day communicating about what Holler Roast has to offer for the holidays? Homestead example. Do I build a root cellar and where do I build a root cellar? Seems like a big decision, right? Because it's a lot of investment. You have to figure it out. Am I really going to use the root cellar? What if I build it wrong? Versus taking 15 to 20 minutes on Sunday or Monday and making my meal plan for the day or week before I'm hungry. What has a bigger impact on me? If I build a root cellar or not, or if I have a meal plan so I don't eat crap? The second one. Isn't that weird? And that kind of brings me to the purpose of today's show is that when your home is working for you, when it's a solid foundation for your success, when you do it right, it does not get in your way, right? Or said another way, your home provides a solid foundation for your success, right? Especially if you do it right. And if you do it wrong, it can hinder your progress very much. Fun fact. Oh, wait. It's not a fact. It's an opinion. Fun opinion. All right. We always say fun fact, and it's not really a fact. By which I mean, if your house is chaotic, that's not necessarily bad. You might be able to turn that into something that works for you. But if every time you try to do something, it takes you 7 steps in your home to do the one thing, that's an enormous waste of time cumulatively over time, and you feel frustration and you feel unsettled. Wherein, if you decide to do something and you can just do it, it's a whole different ballgame. And when you're really trying to set yourself up for success, if your home isn't in order, then you run into problems. And if you look at power couples, a lot of times you'll see like the one who's working on the money side and the one who's more responsible for the domestic side. It's not always that way, but a lot of couples work that way. Even if the one on the domestic side is outsourcing or overseeing people helping on that side, um, they become more successful together because the whole operation works better because it's the power. And when I thought about that, because I don't have a power couple in my life, right? I am my own power couple. I do have a really cool homestead partner here, but um, each day we need some basic things to happen. And your list of what needs to happen and my list of what needs to happen may be different, but there are some overlaps or some similarities, some things we can all agree on. Proper sleep and proper activity. You may not be getting either, but boy, wouldn't you be more powerful if you were, right? Another one, nutritious food and hydration. It's actually why in 75 hard, the water one that everybody's like, I don't want to do the water one. That's why it's there. Americans tend not to hydrate. And when you're well hydrated, you feel better. Your mind is sharper. If you eat crap all the time, you get brain fog. And so having nutritious food readily available when you need it, it's kind of important. And That's the one that I think most people, when I talk to them and they get busy, that's the one that's easiest to flub up on, and then you just, like, grab some crap. As my sister and I were talking, and, uh, and she's like, "I don't know why this is so hard," and I'm like, "Because you have your work schedule, you have the kids' after school schedules, your husband is working, and you're trying to keep it all together through all of that." And she had, like, 9 other things going on in her life. "I don't know why you don't have time." "Because you don't have time." And, you know, the she, um she actually asked her daughter on Sunday, "Hey, can you put together a meal plan for the week, what you guys want for dinner?" And they did it in, like, 5 minutes, and she's like, "The whole week went better because we had a meal plan." And I was like, "Yep." And the brilliance of that approach was they wrote the meal plan, so there wasn't like, we're having spaghetti," like, you chose spaghetti. You made the plan. I think that was a brilliant one. Homestead Glamour says, I got so mad trying to put gift boxes together, pulling items from all over that I bit the bullet and bought a bunch of shelving and bins and put stuff in one place, putting up shelves as I listened. Yep. This is true in like the roasting shack too. Like I used to roast in my house and outside my house, and the stuff was in different places in the house, and it was, I was only probably producing 5 pounds for sale a week or something, but I worked probably harder for those 5 pounds than I do for 50 pounds right now because everything is set up in the roasting shack. The best thing about the Kickstarter was I had to produce all the Kickstarter orders. And so, like, getting that taste of volume out of the chute made me really think about how to organize things. Clean clothing and grooming and all of those things, having that all in order. And that may seem like a no-brainer, except for when you're cut off from your toothbrush in the house because you're living in a camper and you didn't bring a toothbrush out there, and now you got to drive to the store to get a toothbrush. This didn't happen. I am making up the story, but it could have totally happened. It was that close that almost happened. Um, that's a huge waste of time. Right? Sue's old ex always like, if you're driving to the store for one thing, then you messed up and you've just invested hours of your time to get one 25-cent item, and it's stupid. So, yeah. So having all of those things in order, I think is important. And then systems for finding information, managing things that happen. For the solopreneur, carving out uninterrupted time to accomplish important tasks is key cornerstone, utmost importance, very important to my success. It's very, very important. I would say this is probably necessary for everyone. Everybody needs some uninterrupted time to figure stuff out, whatever that is. Whether it be just managing how your inventory is going to work in the cleaning schedule of the house and fit that among doctor schedules and kids going places schedules, like that's a whole logistical snarl. Or whether it's needing to make sure you get your show notes done for your podcast and the show notes populated into your website, and the notice is out that you're going live, and like all of the things, and then doing the show. Um and that means not having to put out fires all the time. And I'm going to paste in the comments like how I wrote this, cuz is when I wrote this, I was like, this is how it feels when you are putting out fires all the time. That's what it feels like, man. And for those of you who are on the audio, I have like a weird mixture of uppercase and lowercase, and fires is spelled FYRES, and time is spelled THYME, and like, you'll get very discombobulated. And if you're putting out fires all the time because things aren't in order, then you're not getting your highest and best use, which means you're inhibiting your ability to be successful. And when I look at successful people, they've got the house empowering them part figured out one way or another. And they've done it a number of ways. They've done it a number of ways. One of the ways one of the approaches I see is the minimalist approach, and that's getting rid of everything they own, not having to manage anything, having a uniform they wear, like white shirt, black pants and a black bow tie or whatever, and they just don't ever have to think like I have an uncle who works very hard as a lawyer, and, he's the one who told me when I was in Dallas, he was like, "You know why it was easy for me to pack and come here?" I'm like, "No, why?" He's like, "'Cause I have 100% faith that at any time, anything I need, I can just go buy right now." And we were in Dallas, Texas, and he was basically right. Like anything that you can't buy right now, you probably don't really need. It's more of a want. But you can go to Target and get a toothbrush or underwear or a t-shirt or whatever. He's the same one who his uniform was a specific kind of t-shirt he liked under a business jacket with slacks. That was that was mostly what he wore, and so then he didn't have to think about what he'd wear. And by not spending the time thinking about what he was wearing, he was spending that time thinking about what he was doing for his customers or his clients. So why am I even thinking about this topic? Well, I think most of you know why I brought this up. Because for 6 weeks and for months coming into the 6 weeks, actually, my house has been in an uproar. It has not been a source of empowerment. It has not been a source of rejuvenation, and it has not been working for me. And so I'm feeling on a very visceral level how important it is to have your housework for you, and I've always known it on a logical level. I don't think I've ever quite not since I lived in Portland, Oregon, have I had a house this upside down. And it has been actively undermining my ability to put out typo-free anything, not that I'm great at that anyway, but I am better at it. I was like, I've had, I think last week, two titles on YouTube had typos in them, which is just ridiculous. And it's like, luckily, it wasn't the kind of embarrassing typo I almost had in an SRF email in October. But yeah, it's those little things. There you go. K-Mock says, thump that thumb. All right. Thump that thumb. So the thing is, I had things pretty much set from a household standpoint before this year. Like I had a pantry with the system. I pretty much my laundry mountain wasn't a problem. I had solved that issue. I had, I'm a chaos person, right? So I had eliminated most chaos here and had established a way that my house did empower me most of the time. And in this year of break, that all went on its head, but it went on its head with purpose, meaning that on the other side of this, it will be working for me more than it ever has before, which is kind of cool. So why is this even a thing? Like, if you think about the CEO perspective, the successful CEO has to leave on trips to close deals. And in order to do that, they've got to get out the door. And the best thing that can happen for them is they don't even have to pack. Like somebody in the house packs for them, hands them their suitcase, knows where they're going, hands them their schedule. They haven't thought of any of that logistic. They just go, they focus on the deal, they close the deal. Next iteration of that. That's an extreme example. I've read a few just sort of day life explanations of, like Peter Thiel, who was involved in the founding of PayPal, and some other people, and they work really hard. Like the day starts at 4:30 and it does not end until midnight, and every 15 minutes is scheduled for the whole day, including, scheduled time with wife sort of thing or family, including time for workout, and everything is handed to them throughout the day. And I don't mean that in a like they have everything handed to them on a silver platter. No, they have set up their system to have their homework for them, in that like when it's time to eat, the food is there, right? And it's the kind of food they need to eat to perform well. When it's time to go to the gym bag is there with the clothes, all of that. That's an extreme example. A less extreme example is a friend of mine who runs a website development company, and he's pretty good at what he does. He's very good at what he does. And he realized how much time his family spent planning, executing, cooking meals. And they were in a grow phase for his website development company. His dad, I don't remember what his dad was doing, was building some other thing, and his wife was very involved in an arts, like, executive director sort of position, and he priced out a home chef, and for about $20,000 a year, was able to pay somebody to come in and cook for them, and it wasn't like cook every meal, it was like come in twice a week and leave the meals ready to go in the fridge, to bake or whatever. So it was just, like there was some preparation, and yes, while there, your meal was hot from the chef. And so it was kind of a win-win because that person got their experience being, a chefing basically, and planning out that kind of a program. And he fed not only his family, but his parents tapped into this home chef. So now we're talking $10,000 a person. Now you're looking at your grocery bill going, there's no way I would spend that much money on food. But think of it this way, the time it saved him, he made up more than 10 times in building his company. So for that $20,000, he well exceeded $200,000 by having that time back. And he came to that conclusion or to that idea because he looked at how his home was working for him, what was not working, and said, "You know what? How much does it cost to just change this one time suck?" And got the number and is like, "Well, I'll pay that and see how it goes. Let's see if I can optimize, based on that." And it worked for him. Your thing, your time suck may be something different. For me, I'm not going to say I'd never have a home chef because I actually would consider it. Um, if it was somebody who could tap into the same sort of from scratch lifestyle here, at times of the year when I'm really busy. But I get my own emotional reset and my spiritual reset by preparing food. Like, it's a creative outlet for me, and so I want to be the home chef, right? I want to be cooking the meals. So again, I won't say I would never do that, but for me, the time suck is something different. Actually, for me, the time suck is the deep cleaning. Like, I can do it. I can even be good at it. I hate doing it and, um, would love to outsource that. And organizing to some extent. Like, the thing about organizing is, like, you have to be involved or you don't know where things are. But when somebody who is really good at organizing comes in and we do it together, it's like, wow, this is amazing, especially if we come into it thinking systems. These are the systems. So all I'm saying here is your domestic situation vastly impacts your day-to-day life. Beth Emily says, hardest thing ever is planning meals. Meal plans are awesome. Yeah. So for Beth Emily, it's that. Like, you can go get meal plans on the internet if you can't pay your home chef $20,000 just out of the chute. Find a different way to solve the same problem. Just having a meal plan with grocery lists for some people is really awesome. Maybe you're the person who makes those and sells them. I don't know. But your domestic situation sets whether you're tired, whether you're healthy, whether you're put together, whether you're worried. Like, when things are chaotic at home, you start worrying that there's something you don't know something about. Like, is the well pump going to stop again today? I think, like, Tactical prides himself on me not knowing when the well pump stops now. Um, because he'll be like, "Yeah, I reset it 5 times this week," or whatever, and I'll be like, "Well, I noticed there were air in the lines." But I very rarely have the situation where I turn the tap on and no water comes out. I just had that in my kitchen sink. That's because the water is turned off to the kitchen sink because the dishwasher is turned off, and if you turn on the water to the kitchen sink, it comes out the little drainy thing where the hose was that goes to the dishwasher. I blocked the hole and used my kitchen sink by turning the valves on. Anyway, um, it can seem really counterintuitive, but putting attention in your home when you're building a business and how it supports you, how it supports your priorities, it's something we rarely discuss just in general life. And putting attention there is really important because when you're able to develop the systems that support the life you want to build at home, it's easier to be successful outside the home if that's how you want to be successful. And I think about SOE land, right? So here we've got John Willis and Amanda Willis, and they have like 20 employees at a factory. They live in an apartment over their factory. So, like, the factory is their home. And One of the brilliant things that John Willis has done is he feeds his employees lunch, and part of why he does that is in Camden, Tennessee, if his employees jump in their cars and go drive somewhere to lunch and then come back, like, that takes a lot of time, and so at some point, I think he just was like, "Well, I gotta eat lunch, they gotta eat lunch, we'll cook a lunch for the employees, for all of us, and then they can just have their lunch." Because I think they have, like, a half-hour lunch, it might be an hour, but I think it's a half hour, and they they can just eat, and it's right here ready to go, and then they can have time, and then they can go back to work, and they get nutritious food and, like, all of the benefits of having something like that. And so, for a while, he had a chef cooking the food, um, but the other thing that did for him is he doesn't have to worry about what am I gonna eat for lunch every day, like, it's decided for him when it's served, and that's lunch. And the other thing is he just walks in, eats, and out, so, like, he can be done in 5 minutes and go back to working if he wants to in a day, or he can hang out, and it's a good time to, talk to employees and whatnot, like, that's actually not a bad sort of morale building thing. The other brilliance of the employee lunch is that when there are leftovers, guess what happens at dinner time? Reheat the employee lunch. So he's pretty much taken out any need to put any effort into doing the food thing. And I keep harping on the food thing because all the examples I can think of are the food thing. I also know that he likes cooking food. Like I've heard he likes cooking the steak on the grill and making dinner. And that's like a reset time for him. So it doesn't mean he never cooks. It's just that he has solved that problem and he's done it in a way that solves it for a lot of other people. And that's because he looked at his domestic situation, saw that that needed to be handled, and handled it. So if you're listening to this and feeling like I'm targeting you, I totally am. It's all about you. I am a messy, which means I uh, like my creative side of my personality is well, there's a very large creative side. We'll just put it that way. And I kind of think that that lends towards being what's messy versus what's being versus being a cleanie. So in the world, I read this book and it had messies and cleanies, and cleanies are the people who like keep everything in order and regularly purge their stuff so they don't have a lot of clutter and blah 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 blah. And the reason that they are naturally that way is the thought of being aggravated in the future by something being out of place is more painful to them than doing the thing now to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, as a messies tend to um, go all in on something. And you don't just buy organic food at the store. No, when you decide you're going to eat good food, you got to grow it all organically by hand from your home and cook from scratch and produce the meal. Okay. Sound familiar? Like that example was in the book, and I'm like, oh, that's totally what I did. And messies have a tendency to start many things at one time because they go all in, but then sometimes they lose interest and they abandon said things. Also, starting to sound a lot like ADHD to some of you. Um, and the pain of doing something all the way now is more painful than the thought of how it might hurt you in the future when you go into, a room and your laundry's not put away or whatever. So, messies and cleanies, just explaining that. So, when I realized that you have to have your house in order and transform your home if you want to be successful, I also had to embrace my inner messy. Because if I want my home to work for me, I can't feel like I live in a prison where every dish the minute it is used has to be washed, dried, and put back in the cupboard, which is my dad's house. Okay. There's no soaking the dishes there. They're just done. Um, and that's because he's a cleanie and I'm a messy. Um, I had to choose what I meant by that. So there's a difference for me between I do the dishes twice a day on this schedule with these things, and I had a cup of coffee, I washed the cup, I put it back in the cupboard. Later in the day, I get the same cup out. I have the cup of coffee. I wash the cup, I dry it, put it back in the cupboard. Like there's a different standard there of houseworking for you. With both systems, you don't end up with a huge backlog of, oh my gosh, dishes, right? So that when you need the mug, you can grab the mug and it's not like all dirty mugs in the sink. So I think the first thing to think about is, how is my house not working for me right now? Separate from the guilt of my house should be, according to somebody else's standards, this other way. And understand that I have a healthy dose of guilt about that because my mom is also a museum clean person, so which is amazing when she's here. Um, and that's I've learned a lot about cleaning from her, but I'm okay with a little bit of clutter around. In fact, there are things that if I don't see that they exist because they're out, they will go away forever. I will forget they exist. I will go buy other ones of the same things and or won't deal with them. So I have a system set up where I will leave something out visibly that I know I need to deal with. Problem is if I leave 50 things out that I know I need to deal with, that goes over my standard line and then my house starts sucking me back from being productive. So I've had to really think about what my standards are or what has to work for me and how it has to work for me. That's a balance between, oh no, we just throw everything in the middle of the floor and walk away, light it on fire, I don't know, versus museum clean. Embrace what you are and what you need. And when you live with somebody else who is something else, that's when you start having compromise conversations. That's a totally different topic for a different day. So I think some things you can do to address, like if you were like, well, that's great, Nicole, but you don't understand the chaos I'm in right now. I understand chaos. I don't know if I can move my camera around. Like, I'll just tell you what my office is like right now. Right? If you're watching the video, you're seeing a backsplash, some lights, and a microphone over here, and a respirator. I got 2 phones right here. I got the one I use right here. So that's 3 phones on my desk. It doesn't look that bad. On the other side of this desk, I have a guest bed that has all of the guest bed, like bed in a bag, in the bag because I didn't want it to get dusty. So I put it in the plastic bag. I have a backpack. I have a dog bed that's going to come out that's also in plastic after the dust is done. I have about a 4-foot by 6-foot area with canned goods just on the floor because they couldn't be out there. I have studio lights there. I have studio lights there. I have 4 boxes piled up there with a little aisle through them so I can get to the canned goods if I need to. I have a guitar. I have a 3D printer. I have a box of photographs on top of a box of office supplies in a tower of a dresser. It's a Christmas tree on top of the dresser that can't go out there because there is no out there. I have my shoe organizing shelf is under the boxes and my shoes are in that. So I actually can't get to my shoes except for the pair of shoes I have out there. And what else do I have? Oh, filing cabinet. The printer area is fine. Garbage can. And then there's this box of random stuff that was on my kitchen bar, like mail and whatnot, that I needed to go through in this box so I know where it is. So every time somebody's like, hey, where's that thing? I'm like, it's in that box. That's just one room. That is like nuts. This is not empowering me at all. So luckily, I have a reason for it. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I have a plan for getting it taken care of, right? Layla says, I would love it if you actually tackled that other topic on a different day, the compromises between different clutter styles. Yes, because Mama Sauce and I have lived together where she wasn't the mom telling me to clean my room. She's lived at my house and we actually have worked that out really well. So there is give and take in that. In fact, I should probably just get her on to do that because that would be interesting. And then you don't have to have like husband wife bickering on there. It's just like how we worked it out. So if you're in that situation right now and you're not under construction and it's just like chaos has ensued, you probably don't feel very good right now. And if you want to be successful, it's probably the first thing to start addressing. You know, we've had people on the show talk about like the first thing you need to do is clean your room. If you can't clean your room, clean a drawer. Take that mindset first. But I think some things you can do to address this is to follow one course until successful, or focus, as my friend likes to say. Make a list of some of the things you want to deal with. You don't necessarily have to list them all because that can be really long. And think about how it becomes a system. So it's all fine and dandy for me to put all this stuff away. But if there's not a system for maintaining this, which is why I developed the power pantry method, if there isn't a system, then it ends up like this again. Like, that's just the way it is. And we used to talk about Laundry Mountain. You know what that is, right? That's the mountain of clothes. Like there's two laundry mountains that can exist. There can be the mountain of dirty clothes or half dirty clothes in your room, or there's the mountain of clean clothes that came out of the dryer that you dumped on the bed or the sofa or a chair. That's Laundry Mountain, right? So, if you're going to choose as your one thing this week to do, Laundry Mountain is it. And the most painful part of dressing Laundry Mountain is climbing up that mountain and folding those clothes and putting them all away. And if you're honest, when you're going through them, you're going to discover things you shouldn't even, that have been like in Laundry Mountain for 6 months, that don't fit you, don't look good, you don't like, you'll never wear again. Or you can't wear. And it's time to get rid of some. So tackling Laundry Mountain has a lot of facets. First, you have to climb the mountain. Then you have to decide what stays in the mountain. And then you have to decide where the rest of things go to be put away all the way. And if at the end of that you can't put everything all the way away, you either need different storage solutions or you need even less stuff. You need to go back through and get it so that like there is a way for you to have all your laundry done and have everything put away somewhere. If you can't do that, then Laundry Mountain will always exist because there's always some subset of stuff that can't be put away. And as a person with a lot of SOE t-shirts, I have had to come to that with the t-shirts. Like I have one t-shirt drawer and when it's full, it's full. So then it's time to make decisions, right? Nighthawk has inherited a few t-shirts from me. And so when t-shirts wear out, I get rid of them, right? That's just like, I used to keep a t-shirt until it was tatters and I don't anymore. So, but knowing that you can do that, that's step one. Step two is, okay, how do I end up with Laundry Mountain now? Now that there's somewhere for everything to go, how do I end up with Laundry Mountain on my sofa? Let's just say it's on the sofa. And why? For me, the reason I ended up with Laundry Mountain, two reasons. One, if I start laundry too late in the day and then manage to get them from the washer to the dryer, discover something's in the dryer stuff goes on the couch, I'm too tired to fold, I go to bed. And I'm a person who can go to bed with a load of laundry on her couch and not feel guilty. I like sleep like a baby. Rachel says, wash clothes 30 minutes, dry clothes 60 minutes, folding clothes 7 to 10 business days. Exactly. If instead you do a load and you take it through to the dryer, if you use a dryer, and it's not considered done in your head until it's folded and put in the drawers, and you have a way to take it out of the dryer and fold it right away, you start developing a system where you don't start a load of laundry with backlog in front of it. For me, I also had to not start too late in the day because if things get too late, they don't get done. That's the same with if I cook dinner too late, the dishes are going to be done in the morning. Because once I turn off at a certain time every night and I'm just like, well, I'm off. Unless it's an emergency, it ain't getting done. So your Laundry Mountain issue may be slightly different. And when there are multiple people involved in Laundry Mountain, that's a whole different ball of wax. But for me, it was redefining what done meant and then setting myself up for success, meaning I didn't have a backlog I was running into, and learning what time of day to start laundry. So laundry is usually a beginning of the day thing. For me, I work from home, so I can start it in the morning. At lunchtime, I usually take a lunch break. I can move it to the dryer, and then when it's time to cook dinner, I do this like, it's time to cook dinner, start cooking dinner. And then during that hour, I usually am listening to a podcast or watching something interesting on YouTube on the TV in the living room that doesn't exist for me right now. And then doing domestic things, whatever that is. And if it's laundry, then I'm folding the laundry, right? Okay. So that's an example. So then once that's working for you and it's a habit, then you can attack something else. Like maybe it's the email backlog. Here's one I'd like to solve for myself. I have a lot of unanswered, unread emails in my inbox. And I feel like I'm not serving you all as well when I don't get back to you in email. Okay. And every time my life gets hard, the email suffers. So what that means is I don't have a system for email yet. That's actually going to be my number one priority. I've had this as a number one priority before. This is a number one priority going to my next phase of making my homework for me. I know that's not home, but it is home. It does impact home. It is related to things around the home as well as business. A bill and filing system. That's one a lot of people get the mail buildup. I get mail buildup when I don't open mail, but then if I don't know what to do with the mail once it's opened, that'll turn into a backup situation. Some of us need the one messy room. Needs to be one messy room where you can just have your dump zones. And if you have that, the rest of your house is in order and empowering you. If that's you, be okay with that. Find the one messy room. That actually might be one of the solutions when you have a cleanie and a messy, is that the messy needs their messy room and you need to stay out of it. And if that messy room starts encroaching on the rest of the house, then they get smacked down because they get the one messy room or the one messy closet, whatever it is. Remembering to eat on plan. It's a whole system. So when you start working on making your homework for you, what you're doing is thinking about, how does this system empower me? How can I set it up to empower me or to empower the family? That says laundry doesn't count unless it's put away. Yeah, I had to reframe myself on that. Like, my clothes are clean. They're just in the laundry mountain. Something else you can do is integrate journaling into your life, whether it's a verbal journal, a vlog, a written journal, a typed journal, whatever that is. That can help you assess what's most important for you, whether it's a habit you need to change, a spatial issue, because you make space for what's important to you. And if you're going to make space for success, then you cannot give space to failure. Laundry Mountain is giving space to failure, right? And so when you really get hold of Laundry Mountain, it may not seem like you're setting yourself up for success, but you are in other ways. Because now when you got to run out to that lunch that you need like your special SOE shirt for, you know where it is. Or you know that it's in the dirty clothes and you're going to wear a different special shirt, like whatever that is. It makes it like it's a really dumb thing, but it's an amazing, it's amazing how different it can be when your house is working for you in that situation. Think of it this way. Like, a lot of y'all are preppers who listen to me, and you have a bug out bag. What's a bug out bag? That's like, if I got to grab, or a go bag, I got to go, I don't have any warning, I'm grabbing this bag. Now, some people think of it more like, if I had to go away for 72 hours, this is what I grab and this is my bag. Other people think of it as, if I had to go to a hospital, this is what I would need. Like, people think of it in different ways, but a lot of you have that grab and go. Think about your house like grab and go for your success. So beyond the bug out bag, like, what do I need to be able to do to be successful where I can just grab it and go without even thinking about it? What needs to be in place for that to happen? How can I make it so that when I'm hungry and I need to eat something, it's nutritious and it's there when I need it there? How do I need it to be that when at a certain time I need to take space to really think about a problem, that my environment is the way my environment needs to be for me to be able to think and not worry about my house? It's grab and go for your house. Grab and go for your success. When you start thinking about that, it makes a huge difference. Like, I know I actually have this set up for Hollow Roast. I'm like pointing at it over here. Grab and go pens for writing the cards in the roasting shack. I don't keep pens or paper in the roasting shack because the smoke from roasting can like really affect that. So I have a whole Hollow Roast shelf here that's like grab and go. So when I need the one thing in there, it's in here, it goes in there. And that makes things way more efficient in the business, which means I am pumping out more coffee, which means I can sell more coffee, which means I'm more successful. So, the last thing is if you're really like not sure what to do, phone a friend. I'll be phoning friends for the next 4 or 5 weeks getting this situation put back together. For sure. Because for me, like this is a huge opportunity for me. All my stuff's packed up. I got to unpack it now. You know what? When you unpack stuff, it's a really good time to ask yourself, why do I have this? Right? Is this empowering me? Like, why do I have this empty box? This is an empty box of that's a tuning fork, it's a pitch pipe. You know what's usually in here is the pitch pipe. This empty box is not useful to me at all. It doesn't even stay closed really, so I can't use it for something else. It'll just flop open and it goes in this little mesh bag. But there's no pitch pipe here. And if at the end of this, there's still no pitch pipe here, I'm going to know that I've lost my pitch pipe that I've had since the 90s and I don't need it. I'll get a new one. And then this can go. It does not need to be in my life, right? Do I even need a pitch pipe? That's a good question. No, I do because I sing. But, you know, do I need this flashlight? Maybe. Does it turn on? Oh, yeah, probably need that flashlight. I don't know. Do I need this kazoo? Everybody needs a kazoo. This is my tactical kazoo. But you get my point, right? Like, there's all this stuff that we have. Like, you pull it out of the bag. Do I even like wearing these PJ bottoms? Because I'm totally, yep, that's right. I'm in my candy cane PJs today. Do I even need these PJs? Do I even need this shirt? Does this thing even really empower me? Like, here's one. Do I need this microphone? No, because it's broken. This stopped working. That's why it's on my desk, because I was going to figure out if I could get it working again. And if I can't get it working in about 15 minutes, it's got to go because it is not an expensive item. It has lived its beautiful life and it has stopped working. And I need mics that work in my life, not mics that I have to worry about, because there's nothing like spending 45 minutes making a homestead drug deal video and then finding out that your mic didn't work and having to redo it. So for me, it's an opportunity. I'm going to have to phone a friend for this so they can stand there and ask me the same question. Do you really need that broken mic, Nicole? Do you really need 3 cell phones? Think about it. Think about it. Like, how many of you have buckets of cell phones? That's all I'm saying. So having a home that works for you is really key to your success. And the best thing you can do is start thinking of your home as your go bag for the success you want to build. And whenever there's something that comes up that is not empowering you, ask yourself 3 things. 1, do I even need this in my life? If the answer is yes, why do I need this in my life? And then how can I set this up so that it is my bag for whatever that problem is it's solving for me? When you can get those 3 things handled, then you are set up to move forward. And that's just one more chink in the chip away at the block of becoming more successful. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did and you want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in a couple of ways. 1, buy your Christmas gifts at hollowroast.com. Hollow Roast makes a great gift and it's consumable, so it does not clutter up your house if you love coffee. Hollowroast.com. 2, consider becoming a member. Head over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more. With that, guys, go out, make it a great week.